High drama at the Supreme Court. 9 justices taking on a central issue of modern American life: gay marriage. Today, the court wrestled with profound questions. What is a family? What is the purpose of marriage?
Today, the Supreme Court began 2 days of hearings on one of the most contentious issues of our time. For the first time, the court is considering whether same-sex couples have a constitutional right to marry.
The U.S. Supreme Court today took on the right to marry someone of the same sex. They're taking on 2 cases over 2 days, and as with anything the court touches, anything can happen. It's up to the ruling of the 9 justices. Public opinion has been changing fast on this subject. It has moved quickly in the past few years.
Today, the Supreme Court took up the Prop 8 case, a ban on same-sex marriage in California. Although a ruling is not expected for some time, one justice suggested the court could dismiss the case with no ruling at all.
Well, it was one of the biggest stories this week in the media. The Supreme Court hearing arguments on 2 cases concerning same-sex marriage. Outside the court, demonstrators on both sides of the issue. We just heard Diane Sawyer calling it one of the central issues of our times. Is it? I mean, did it deserve the kind of coverage it got? You know, lead story coverage Tuesday and Wednesday.
It's a big story. It might not be as big as the economy, for example, to most Americans, but nonetheless, the media certainly think it is a big story, and we should take it from Jack Merkinson, who's the media editor at the Huffington Post, who should know where the media stand on these things, and said the Supreme Court may be divided on gay marriage, but the media isn't. Now, it should be aren't, because media are plural, but nonetheless, we see where he's coming from, and I think he's right about his fellow Fourth Estaters.
But the coverage, Judy, seemed pretty one-sided. It seemed to be pretty much pro-gay marriage.
I think it was pretty one-sided, because I think that reflects public opinion, and especially young public opinion in America. But I think the basic divide is between people who see this as a political issue in which intelligent people can disagree, and others who see it as a basic human civil right. And if you are in the latter camp, then you really you can't have enough coverage of it.
Well, but there are a lot of people who oppose gay marriage, obviously. I mean, witness them outside the Supreme Court. It doesn't seem that their views get a whole lot of coverage.
Well, I think that most of the people in the media are, so the way it breaks down in the polls is the younger people tend to be the ones that are more overwhelmingly in support of gay marriage, and older people are the ones who aren't. And I think the media is more populated by people on the younger scale. So that's going to be their point of view. But because there are so many people in this country who do oppose it, I think that they should be given a fair hearing, and there should be a real debate on it. Look, the clips you just showed I thought were very straightforward. I don't think there's anything wrong with the coverage that they did. And I think even the New York Times, in their news coverage of this, covered what was happening before the Supreme Court appropriately.
But Cal, do the polls drive the coverage here?
Well, it's kind of a chicken and egg. I mean, here's how the media drive the coverage, I think, and for themselves. I haven't seen so much cheerleading for an issue since that done by the media for President Obama. Natalie Morales and Susanna Guthrie of NBC.
Savannah Guthrie,
sorry, of NBC, participated in, and Natalie Morales hosted a National Gay and Lesbian Journalists Association gala. They were joined by people from CNN, the New York Times, and even the Wall Street Journal. Now, I'm against all of this: African-American journalists, female journalists, Hispanic journalists, all these specialized journalist groups that people go to. Why can't we just have journalists? And what are they doing showing up at an advocacy dinner and then going back and reporting on it?
Well, and speaking of cheerleading, Time magazine had a couple of separate covers out on this issue showing gay and lesbian couples kissing. The headline on both: gay marriage already won. Is that pushing an agenda?
Well, again, I mean, Rush Limbaugh said we lost. That was his quote. We lost the language on this. We lost the taxonomic argument, the conservatives, that is. But look, let's just bear in mind, the media have pushed this issue this far. They might even push it further. Melissa Harris Perry, who's a host at MSNBC, wrote an article in The Nation magazine, a left-wing publication, saying it would be tragic to allow marriage equality to destroy or marginalize the pioneering work of queer families, or create, as they seek to create a new kind of family. In other words, this issue will keep going. I think Cal's been making this point for years. Why stop at gay marriage? Yeah.
I think I have a problem with the identification of someone who claims to be an objective journalist who changes his or her avatar on Facebook or Twitter to take a position.
Some have been doing that
and they have been doing this, and then they say, on the other hand, oh, well, there's no problem here. I can still be objective. Well, no, you can't be. If you're an opinion journalist, you have the right to have an opinion. If you're trying to cover something straight, you shouldn't take one side publicly.
It will be interesting to see what the court decides and how the media react to that decision. That's in the months to come.